Welcome to the Sooners360 Recruiting Podcast. I'm Chris Mason, lead recruiting analyst for Sooners360. This video is sponsored by Sooners360 on Patreon. To support this video, please go to patreon.com/Sooners360-817 and click subscribe. It's only $2 a month. There's also a free trial option. I'm posting regular recruiting content there, and there will also be a link in the description below. Also, Sooners360 is part of the Believe podcast network. Every team, every topic, everywhere. This video covers the recent commitment to OU by 2025 Florida wide receiver Cortez Mills. His recruiting process was interesting, sort of how he ended up at OU. He did visit OU unofficially during the spring. He wasn't really mentioned as a possible target for OU. And remember, OU had, a number of wide receivers already verbaled. So he wasn't really mentioned as a target until he visited during spring. He seemed to make a good connection with Emmett Jones and the Sooner staff, and he scheduled an official visit for OU in June for 6/14. Now, he took one significant official visit before getting to Norman, and that was he went to Clemson, and he really clicked with Clemson, really clicked with their staff. There was forecasts for him to go to Clemson, and I almost at the time wondered if he was going to actually visit Oklahoma. It looked like a Clemson verbal was just sort of a matter of time, and it probably might occur before he had a chance to get to Norman. I wasn't really sure how heavily OU was recruiting him as well, so. All of that aside, he did then show up on the 6/14 weekend, and the buzz started to build a little bit. It wasn't quite as heavy as the buzz with Marcus Harris, but you did start to see post that visit, a lot of folks starting to say that OU made a serious dent in Clemson's lead. There was some social media traffic between Marcus after he'd verbaled to OU and Cortez. It looked like OU was definitely still very interested in him, despite the Marcus Harris verbal. So, there was definitely some noise about OU was starting to, that OU, had a very good visit and maybe had done something to hit the Clemson lead. And when you think about it, Clemson and Oklahoma recruit in a similar fashion because Brent's leveraged, used, copied some of the Clemson stuff. I think some of that's just very authentic to Brent, as well as it is to Dabo. To what regard it is authentic for Dabo, I can't really say. It seems very authentic for Brent. So it seemed like if he liked Clemson, that he would probably like what OU's message was. That would also click with him. If he liked the culture perspective from Clemson, then he was going to like the culture from Oklahoma. And then you add in the fact that Emmett Jones and the Oklahoma wide receiver group is on a better run than Clemson's. Clemson's offense is the wheels have kind of fallen off a little bit. It's thrown a tire, whatever bad analogy you want to use. Whereas OU has definitely had more productive passing game seasons with Dylan Gabriel the last 2 years. Marvin Mims, underranked as a third-round receiver for the Broncos and underutilized by the Broncos. So it just looks like OU had a little bit of and Emmett Jones just kind of clicking with what OU was doing. Just seemed like OU was able to dent the culture message for Clemson and perhaps push a stronger wide recruiting message. As we know, Emmett Jones is a very good recruiter at this point. So he's also recruiting a lot better with the OU brand behind him. And OU's history at wide receiver, Sterling Shepard, D.D. Westbrook, C.D. Lamb, Marvin Mims. There's a lot of recent success. Obviously, Clemson can point to the two big wide receivers in the NFL, but beyond that, the Clemson wide receiver game is not quite as, obviously you go back further to like DeAndre Hopkins, but most kids aren't really going that far back in terms of their knowledge of players at this point. So He canceled a visit to LSU. He canceled a Miami visit for the next week, the last weekend, and he went to LSU. Looked like LSU was making a little bit of a run, but let's be honest. If you're really into the culture that Clemson and OU are pitching, is Brian Kelly's LSU program something that's really going to sync up with you? Despite the fact they are wide receiver U, I'm not going to dispute that. I mean, the two wide receivers this class in the most recent draft, the 2019 wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, just got the massive contract from Minnesota. The other guy whose name I can't recall right off the top of my head, sorry about that, who's in Cincinnati with Joe Burrow. So, and obviously the two guys that just got drafted, LSU wide receiver U, I'm not really going to dispute any of that. But it just seemed like LSU didn't make too much of an impact. And then he was getting ready to make a decision and decided he was, made a decision on 7-1. And it just, as it got closer to 7-1, more and more folks started putting in forecasts for OU, flipping to OU if they were with Clemson, or just putting in forecasts for the Sooners. So a big win on the recruiting trail in terms of just basically, stealing Clemson from a certain perspective kind of stole Bryant Westco last year. So if you want to view this as OU taking a wide receiver away from Clemson, you could certainly do that. So what is OU getting from a recruiting standpoint with Cortez Mills? So, right now he's ranked the industry composite, at least the On3 version of it. He's ranked 109th in the nation. Obviously, Rivals has him the highest ranking. 247's a little bit of an outlier, but right about, he basically looks like a top 15, top 100 player in the nation, and that's probably where he's going to be. He has had a big summer where he's at various camps and events he's gone to where he's excelled. So there's a chance from some movement from 247. Maybe from ESPN. On3 just did their most recent updates. I don't think they changed Cortez ranking that much, but he's firmly, I think, in the top 100, maybe top 75 range. It's going to be hard for him to get any higher than that. Most services have their top 3 or 4 receivers pretty set. So it's going to be hard for him to move sort of in that top 5 range, but I think anywhere from 5 to 10 would be sort of his highest profile. As you can see, the wide receiver position's just overloaded again. He's the number 69 player in the nation, but he's only the 14th wide receiver on Rivals. So that just tells you just how many receivers they have in their top, sort of in their top 50. So good pickup. I think there's every possibility he'll be a composite top 100 by the end of the year, and he could get as high as, say, 75, something like that. Going to be a little harder to get above that, but still that would be right around the same. That would be higher rated than Zion Kearney last year, and probably if he makes that mark, he'll be like the highest rated receiver OU's had since the infamous 5-star. The infamous 5-star 3 back in the day. So what is OU getting here? What does this kid look like on film? So Cortez, first thing, he plays much bigger than his frame. He's about 6'1", 6'2", but he's got a tremendous wingspan for that. There's a photo of him that's been referenced on social media and on several podcasts where he's standing next to Marcus Harris, and he's about 1.5 inches taller than Harris, but his hand reaches at the same level as Harris's. So he's got this tremendously long wingspan. As you can see, he's very comfortable going deep. Just a great catch there. He's similar to Marcus Harris in that he's open when he's covered. But he's also, a complete receiver, showing, excellent run after the catch ability there. showing good acceleration. Walks out of that tackle, that ankle tackle, to go for a touchdown. He's just he's an excellent receiver in terms of here he's sort of in a bunch slot. He's comfortable going over the middle, play after catch. He's just making rack yards left and right there. A little CD like, maybe just a hint of CD there in that kind of rack yardage play. High points the ball there. Sorry, just another excellent catch. He's pretty well covered. Then you've got another. He's covered here, but he just makes a fantastic catch, over the shoulder catch, right there. Again, here he's not. He's sort of in the. He's taking this pass deep, showing really good speed to run past the first defender, and then just makes a incredible, leaping catch on the sideline there to complete the play. Here again, comfortable going across the middle, making the big play to get a touchdown. Here he's end zone, nice move here, and then catches, high points the ball and catches it in the end zone. So he's an excellent wide receiver. This is I think a big pickup. You can just see, like Harris, it's just playmaking. His highlights are just as they should be, but playmaking left and right. Finding the hole, beating coverage. Finding the high point in the ball, or making the tough catch on the sideline. He's just doing a really good job. I think this is the highlight where he just goes sky high for the ball. You can kind of see his sort of reach and range here. Yeah, you see that? You see how high that pass was? He just pulled it in and just ran it in for the end zone. It's a little reminds me a little bit of a CD Lamb there in that highlight. So he's a really good receiver, very complete, runs routes, got a full route tree, just doing everything that you'd ask. Here he's again sort of in the slot, comes back to his receiver. Comes back to his quarterback and needs a play, and then drifts and finds a hole in the coverage and completes another big play. So he's really just a complete receiver, just very good in terms of the complete package. Again, just another very good recruiting win, just based upon the film for Emmett Jones. So what does this do for wide receiver recruiting? So OU's now at 5 wide receivers. So that's a lot of wide receivers, but they do have a number of wide receivers who can leave. So 3 to 4 makes a lot of sense. Do I think OU stays at 5? I think we'll just have to see on that. But I think this is another big win. It's a win from the Florida area, the SEC territory. There was a analyst, we'll call him an analyst, but he, I don't think he was really using his analytical mind that much, who was saying that OU didn't have recruiting range or didn't have any recruiting territories. Well, Barrett, OU just went to Florida for a top 15, top 10 wide receiver, and just probably pulled the best wide receiver from Mater Dei and California. So looks like OU's recruiting range is a little more than the state of Oklahoma, or whatever limited view you have in your mind about OU's recruiting region or where OU can recruit from. Oh, and by the way, Barrett, OU signed a wide receiver from Georgia last year as well, in Zion Reagans. So it's a good, I think the 3 top receivers in the class, which are obviously Marcus Harris, Elijah Thomas, and Cortez Mills, I think they are all top 100 talents, regardless of what's going on with the rankings. Just looking at their film, looking at who they compete with, and looking at who OU beat for those players. I know Elijah Thomas, his recruiting never got started. He verbal to OU so early. But if you just look at his film, it's awesome. He's probably going to be, by the time when he gets to OU and gets coached up, I think I heard that Elijah's thinking of rolling early. He's just going to blow up as a Sooner. It's just a matter of time. So, it's it's just another win for Emmett Jones. He's on a recruiting heater the last sort of all of June that, sort of unmatched. The only, I guess, if you want to pick a nit, OU sort of walked away from Andrew Marsh when I think they realized they could get Marcus Harris and they had a good shot at getting Cortez Mills. And I think both of those guys are close to Andrew Marsh talent level, or close enough that it's with Emmett Jones' development skills, it's not going to matter. So this is a really good pickup. The wide receiver class is in great shape. You've got you've got your big flanker in Emmanuel Choice. You've got a dedicated slot in Grayson Harris. Then you've got 3 wide receivers that can really play all over the field and do everything for OU. So I think this is another big pickup. OU obviously knew what they were doing in terms of verbals. They kind of had a sense that they were going to get in Cortez Mills, according to his quotes. He said he kind of told Brent and Emmett Jones during that visit weekend that he was going to verbal. So OU knew that when they took Emmanuel Choice's verbal the following weekend. So they've known 5 wide receivers was a possibility. So I'm presuming OU has a plan for this that allows them to take 5 wide receivers and take the other additional pieces of the 2025 class that they need to really finish what's going on. So it's another big pickup for Emmett Jones. That's the wide receiver class probably put to bed from a quick evaluation standpoint. Quantity wise, that's an A. OU could use 3-4 wide receivers. They've got 5, so they've obviously hit their numbers. And obviously, that's going to depend heavily. OU could lose a number of wide receivers to the portal or to the draft this year. They've got, Jaleel Farouk, who's a senior, Dion Burke, who could easily, with a blowout year, go to the draft. And it's not beyond the realm of possibility that if Nick Anderson or Jaden Gibson or Andrew Anthony has a big season, that one of them could put their name in the draft. If they've got the measurables, different measurables for each guy, but they've got the measurables to certainly be NFL wide receivers. And if they were to take a big leap forward in their second year under Emmett Jones, there's a strong possibility that, one of them could leave. So it's understandable that OU's looking to reload the room a little bit. They added 4 wide receivers in the last class. I think I sometimes said they mentioned 5. I forgot that obviously Dozie Ezekuma decommitted in December. So it was 5 at one point, then went down to 4. I kind of wonder if that will happen with this group as well. But, no point speculating about decommitments when you just picked up a top 100 commitment. So we'll just focus on that. So again, thanks for watching this video. And please click like and subscribe to the channel. And we will be back with another commit video for Amarian Robinson. Thanks, everyone.